Hello, everyone, and welcome to the main stage with our keynote speaker, Bert Jacobs. It wouldn't be interesting if we weren't a little bit late. We had to make you wait a little bit. Bert is the co-founder of Life is Good. Bert, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're already running a little bit late, so I'm not going to talk too much. The stage is yours. Enjoy, everyone. I'll join you back at the end with question and answers. Bert, all yours.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody. My pleasure to be here. I'm going to dive right into things. Everything I have to say is really simple, is really straightforward. And though I'm going to tell, mine and my brother's story, where Life is Good came from and our journey, I hope the entire time you're going to think about your own journey. And I hope that you don't just think about business. I want you to think about your life, your family, the people you love, the difficult things you're doing or have been through, and how you go about your life. This talk goes beyond business, although I hope it will help your business too. So the story for us begins, like a lot of people, in a bunk bed. We're the youngest of 6 kids. That's my younger brother Johnny on the bottom bunk, and that's me on the top. And we grew up in a nice town about 15 minutes west of Boston. And when I say we're the youngest of 6 kids, if you went and visited my parents, you'd see bookcases and bookcases filled with photographs of our older brothers and sisters. This photo you're looking at is one of 3 photos of our entire childhood. True story. And it's not that our parents didn't love us. It's just they had too many kids. They had enough money for about 2 kids, but they had 6. And this caused a lot of pressure. And, I think if the economic pressure wasn't enough, other challenges came along. And one of those big ones was that our parents got in a near-death car accident when we were in elementary school. And you click to the next slide, please. And our mom had a seatbelt on, and that probably saved her life, or definitely saved her life. And she had some broken bones, but she fared much better. Our dad lost the use of his right arm for the rest of his life. And it was lucky that he lived. But our dad was an outdoor enthusiast and a gifted craftsman and a blue-collar guy. And I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back. So our dad slipped into maybe a state of depression. And the coping mechanisms he used to deal with that were alcohol and screaming and yelling. And I can't blame him. And even as a kid, I really didn't hate my dad for it. I felt bad for him. He seemed lost. And as an adult, when I look back, I realized he kind of had this American dream. And even though we had a little house and maybe not enough money, he was doing all the right things. When I look at photographs before we were around, he's a strapping young man, and he's doing everything for the family, and the house looks great. And it's painted well, and the lawn's cut and all those things. But that's not the house I grew up in, and not the house Johnny grew up in. The house was falling apart by the time we were 10 years old, and the grass was never cut, and the windows were broken. And my dad, the neighbors could hear my dad screaming all the time. The hero of the story in many ways is our mom, because she actually suffered with depression too. But her coping mechanisms were very different. Her coping mechanisms were music and art, singing and dancing. She taught us to draw, and she showed us we can take a crayon in our imagination and travel anywhere. She taught us that although we're a family that will never get in a plane and fly to Disneyland, we can go anywhere, and our imagination will enable that. And she told incredible bedtime stories. She acted out the characters in the story, and she became the big bad wolf or the pirate that took us out in forbidden seas. And as kids, we begged for more. It was true theater, and it was beautiful. And maybe the greatest gift that our mom gave us was a ritual at the dinner table. She would look around at her 6 kids, no matter what was happening, sometimes borderline chaos, and she would say, "Tell me something good that happened today." tell me something good that happened today. And that's a powerful and simple statement. If you click to the next slide. So that statement, what happened was we would share some simple thing that happened at school, but sure enough, we'd be riffing on that and making fun of the day and laughing and acting like a family. And the lesson in it was that we all have the power to control the energy that we bring to the table. And it's up to us whether there's always going to be challenges and difficult things in our lives. And we shouldn't allow all our resources and energy to go to those things. And so she taught us that we can change the energy in the whole house if we focus on the good things. And if we were smarter or faster, my brother and I, we would have taken that lesson and gone out in the street and created Life is Good right away. But we didn't. You can click to the next slide. So instead, we started designing T-shirts. We took the lessons from drawing with crayons, and we got out in the streets of Boston. And this is a picture taken probably in the early 90s in South Boston on St. Patrick's Day. And so most days where this happens to be a big crowd and a parade, and I don't think we sold a lot of T-shirts this day, but as you can see, we're trying. And we were in the street every day, usually selling to foot traffic. We weren't having a whole lot of luck. So we decided to leave our hometown and hit the road on a journey. You click to the next slide. So for us, this whole business development in our life has been a road trip. And that decision to leave Boston was a really important one to us. You click to the next slide. We went to one of our older brothers brought us to an auction, and we wanted to buy a very cool surf van, an old VW or something, but we didn't find that. We found this soccer mom minivan, which was very uncool of us to travel in, but that's the best we could do. And we ripped the seats out of the back and we filled it with T-shirts. And we actually left, and we thought we were leaving for a couple of weeks, but we left for 5.5 years. And we traveled in that van and we slept in that van every night. And we ended up selling door to door in college dormitories all up and down the East Coast. And a lot of people look at these old photos and say, well, now life is good. Now you've got this big successful business and things are great. But boy, life must have sucked when you were sleeping in that van. And I always think, you missed the point, because life was good actually when we were sleeping in that van. Your happiness is not determined by how much money you have or where you are. It's determined by your disposition. And our honest to goodness, our disposition at the time was we felt lucky. We felt lucky to be able to start a business and give it a try. We felt lucky to be on the road. We enjoyed it. During the daytimes, we'd throw the football around on campuses or Frisbee and try to meet some people. And at night, we'd sell door to door. And we were on these beautiful campuses of all these schools that we didn't get into. During that time, we had a very difficult recurring conversation. And it was about how the media inundates us with negative information, always reinforcing what's wrong with our world and rarely telling us what's right with the world. And keep in mind that we're 5.5 years into this road trip, and we're not having business success at all. And, we're having enough that we can keep the road trip and the dream alive, but we're not making any profit. And we had this bummer of a conversation about the news not being the news, but instead being the 6 o'clock violent murder report. What do we do about that? Well, click to the next slide. My brother drew the Life is Good character, Jake. And as you can see where it says life is good, it didn't always say life is good. It said draw underneath. And we came back to Boston and we threw an old-fashioned keg party. And we had our friends come. We had a very diverse group of friends. And we put all of our ideas up on the wall. It was like our first focus group. And we asked them what they liked. And of anything on the walls, and we had a lot of crazy ideas, this guy, this character, Jake, with the smile and the sunglasses and the beret, had kind of a magnetic appeal. And a lot of people wrote interesting things all over the walls. And one woman who came to the party she wrote an arrow to Jake and she said, "This guy's got life figured out." And that gave us an idea. And the idea was that maybe Jake, the character, shouldn't just be an artist. That's what it was meant to be with the word draw. But Jake can do anything. He's a superhero whose power is his optimism. And so we decided to print 48 T-shirts that said that we distilled her words, "This guy's got life figured out," into the 3 simple words, "Life is good." And 2 days later, we got out in the street in Cambridge, Mass. That's a picture of Johnny. And we had a couple of card tables out, and we had all the T-shirts we'd been selling. And then we had the Life is Good T-shirts. And we printed 48 of them. We sold 48 T-shirts in 45 minutes. Well, that may not sound like a big deal to you, but it used to take us 2 weeks to sell 48 T-shirts. So it was mind-blowing. And to see people reach into their pocket and spend hard-earned money on those 3 simple words showed us that people are starving for optimism, that people do not get enough celebration of life, that people do not get enough, the world's complex and they don't get enough simplicity. And so we thought, okay, let's make some more of these T-shirts. Well, the problem was we didn't know where to go or what to do. So we drove down to Cape Cod, and down in Cape Cod, we drove around. We went for a swim in the ocean and tried to figure out what to do. And we decided we'd bring this to retail. And when we went around to a bunch of retailers, everybody said no. They thought we stole the shirts. We didn't look like professionals. And then finally, this woman named Nancy opened up a little shop, or she had a little shop opened up that was sold flip-flops, and she really liked the shirt, which wasn't the one you're looking at. It just said the words "Life is Good." And so she ordered 24. It was our first retail order. We shipped her the 24 shirts, and about a week later, she called and she said that she sold all 24 shirts. And she asked us if she could get more. I said, sure, no problem. She then said, "Do you remember that our shop is next to an ice cream shop?" And I said, sure, yeah, I do. And she said, "Well, we're wondering if that guy, Jake, eats ice cream." Huh. I said, no, but he will. And we drew Jake eating ice cream. And you're looking at it, simple as can be. Well, we shipped Jake eating ice cream T-shirts down to her, and she sold those faster than the others. She then put us in touch with her sister-in-law, who called a few days later, and she said, my boyfriend and I have a retail shop that's on a mountain bike path up in Vermont. And our sister told us that Life is Good shirts are her best sellers now. And we're wondering if this guy, Jake, can ride a bicycle. This time I was a little smarter and said, no, but he will if you pay in advance. And she did. She paid in advance because we had no money, no cash flow. And we shipped out Jake in a bicycle. What we learned is that all we had to do was walk around and ask people what they loved to do. And whether that was gardening or playing the guitar or mountain climbing or swimming or whatever it was, put it on a T-shirt with the 3 magic words, "Life is good," and people will pay for it. And this sounds stupid. I know it does, because business should be harder than this, but it wasn't. So we started turning up the love. We started walking around and asking people, everyone we knew, strangers, what do you love? And we started keeping notebooks of the things that people love. And sure enough, our business started to grow. And we were making every operational mistake in the book, as you can imagine. You can click to the next slide. But our business was growing underneath our feet, despite our inability or our inexperience with business. It was growing, and the demand for Life is Good T-shirts was growing. So it took us 5 years to build a $3 million business. And we went from shipping out of our kitchen to getting our own little warehouse. And what happened next, we never could have imagined, which is that our customers started contacting us, and they weren't the people on Easy Street. They were people going through difficult things. This is a picture of 2 10-year-old boys, and I'm going to read you a letter that they wrote us in our 5th year of business. Dear Bert and John, my name is Alex. I have a brother, Nick, and we are 10. We both have extra challenges in the world, but at the end of the day, we still have each other. We were both born early and weighed only 1 pound, so we had a lot of growing to do. When I was born, I had my leg amputated. Nick is legally blind. Well, me and Nick have all of your shirts with the things we love doing best. But if you ask us what we do best and what makes us happy and laugh the most, it's just being together. I now know that Nick has more challenges than I do. What a powerful statement for a 10-year-old to make. What amazing self-awareness, right? I now know that Nick has more challenges than I do, but he says and does things that make me laugh and forget feeling bad. I don't know how to describe it other than I love him. You're lucky to have a brother too. I just want to point out that he doesn't know my brother at the time. I hope you do fun things together, your friends Alex and Nick. Well, that letter changed our lives. It really did. It wasn't the only letter, and it wasn't the only experience we had, but they taught us that gratitude is a superpower. Here they were facing all these challenges. You could read that letter over and over. You're never going to see them being the victim. You're never going to see them saying, writing us. They didn't even ask for a free t-shirt. Everybody asks for a free t-shirt when they write us a deep personal letter. And we send them a t-shirt and a hoodie and whatever. Why wouldn't we? They didn't ask for anything. They wanted to tell us that they were experiencing how good life was. And so we decided that gratitude would become a part of Life is Good, and that we would never say, I have to work late, or I have to even go grocery shopping. You get to go grocery shopping and you get to work late. And so they became a part of our business, and we started making t-shirts about gratitude. You can click to the next slide. After we got inspired by Alex and Nick and other kids, we decided to try to help. So we didn't have any advertising or marketing campaign. Instead, we did the thing anybody listening logically would do. We held a pumpkin festival. And at the pumpkin festival, we had all kinds of old-fashioned things. We had pumpkin pie eating contest, and we had strong men throwing giant pumpkins and all kinds of ridiculous things. And people showed up. We had it in southern Maine, and it supported a place called Camp Sunshine, which is a retreat for families of children with life-threatening illness. And we were a $3 million business. We raised over $80,000. Again, might not sound like a big deal, but to us at the time, it blew our minds. And the people came out of the woodwork to help. That we started growing pumpkin festivals, and some advisors told us that we shouldn't continue this because it's cannibalizing our business, and the sales reps are out in pumpkin patches negotiating with farmers, and they're not selling t-shirts, etc. But thankfully, we didn't listen, and we hired the person in this photo to be our logistics coordinator, and we grew the pumpkin festivals all over the country. You can click to the next slide. As the pumpkin festivals grew, our business grew. And in 2006, we broke the Guinness World Record for the most lit carved pumpkins in one place at one time. This is a picture of over 32,000 lit carved pumpkins on the nation's oldest public park, Boston Common. And now we raised over $500,000 in one night, with every penny of it helping families who had children that were facing severe challenges. So, breaking a world record's fun, and it was on our bucket list, but it's not the important thing. The important thing is that a hell of a lot of people showed up to help people they didn't know, and they put a few dollars in plastic pumpkin containers, and that amounted to $500,000 in one night, and we never had more fun in our lives. So over time, we formally created the Life is Good Kids Foundation. And what the Life is Good Kids Foundation does is the same thing what our brand does. It helps people focus on emotional health. In this case, it helps children that face poverty and violence and life-threatening illnesses. And it helps them to connect with adults and makes them feel safe and loved. And we support what we call child care providers, what we call playmakers. A playmaker is somebody that makes a real difference in a child's life. That woman in the back is a playmaker right there. The other thing we did was we decided that for every $10 we make, $1 is going to go to that kids foundation. And we've been doing that ever since. It's now 27 years since we started this business, and it's become infused in our business. It is automatically part of everything we do. So everyone at our business that works at Life is Good knows that if they do a good job designing a t-shirt or running the IT department or running marketing or picking and pulling orders out in the warehouse, they are helping to save children's lives. It is truly what is called an integrated model. We are one brand, Life is Good, but we are a for-profit 501c3, and we're a for-profit business, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit. It's unusual to hear it spoken that way, but that's how it works. And we believe that is the future of business. We believe that every business should be trying to better its community, whether that community is big or small. So, and I don't believe anyone has the obligation to do that, but I think it's smart. I think it's smart business. I think you sleep like a baby when you do it. And I think your consumers in the 21st century will recognize that you're making the world better, and that will pay dividends. We can go to the next slide. This is just a picture of our staff, because the most galvanizing thing we ever did was start the Kids Foundation. We do lots of fun things at Life is Good, but we pay people probably market rate. I think we try to do our best there. We have no cap on bonuses, and we try, like most companies, to do everything well. But when we do our annual survey, our employees tell us every year that the thing that matters most to them is not t-shirts. The thing that matters most to them is that our organization helps children who really need it. And that touches them every day. That brings them together and unifies them. We throw music festivals, Life is Good music festivals. It's a picture of Michael Franti from the brand Michael Franti and Spearhead. He's a great friend, and he's a real hero who, unlike some famous people, really has maintained his heart and soul and really cares that his music touches people and helps people. And, this is 30,000 people gathered at a Life is Good music festival. And the real one common denominator, like other music festivals, you have the bands you want to see, you get a nice cold beer, you can have delicious food, and hopefully you have good weather. But the point of difference here is that everyone in that crowd knows that every penny is going to kids that really need it. And that brings them together, and it's a heck of a day. It's a really enjoyable thing to do. And the last 5 music festivals we've had have raised over $1 million. So once again, as our business grows capitalistically, so does our social work. And that's the way it should be. You can go to the next one. I have no idea what this kid is looking at. He attended a Life is Good festival, and clearly we blew his mind. You can go to the next one. It's only on there for the joke. Authenticity is one of our superpowers, and you can probably tell by the things I'm saying. There's nothing about our organization that's rocket science. I'm not someone who graduated the top of my class. Neither is my brother. We've never been the fastest or the strongest or the smartest, but we are who we say we are. And through the years, our customer base recognizes that. They know that we're imperfect and we'll make mistakes, but we'll own them. We'll hold ourselves accountable. And they appreciate that. And they are the ones who have grown our business. You could click to the next slide. So as you can see, our business went through tremendous growth, all the way up to 117 million. And then the recession hit. And when the recession hit, 50% of our business was wholesale, right? And we got an e-commerce business, and we've got a licensing business these days. Well, our business started going in the wrong direction. And we realized during those difficult years that we were not being clear, number one, with our staff, that we were not being consistent with our strategies, and that from a leadership standpoint, we hired people on our softball team, and we hired cousins of ours, and we hired some girl we met at the bar who was funny because we thought she could run marketing. And, they're typical kind of small business owner mistakes. And they're all good people, and many of them are still with us. But we really needed to focus on bringing in the right people. And we've done that. And we moved out of the way. My brother and I are creatives, and we run we contribute to the business in creative ways, but we're not operational people. We've got 50 servers today. I can't tell you what a server looks like, but somebody in our business does. So we specialized, we hired the right people, and we moved in the right direction. This photo you're looking at now is me and Richard Branson. It's got nothing to do with the talk. I just wanted you to know I hang out with Richard Branson. We wrote a book. We wrote a book because we're lucky that these things have happened to us. And the book really isn't about us. It's about all the amazing people like Alex and Nick, who you wouldn't otherwise know, but they wrote us letters or emails, and they changed our business and became part of our business. And the book highlights 10 superpowers, timeless values that our business couldn't exist without. Things like compassion and love and simplicity and a sense of humor and fun and openness, etc. And each chapter highlights those people and how that superpower became part of our business. You can click to the next slide. And so we decided on our 25th anniversary that we'd go back on the road again. It's the road trip is what we're all about. And I know you guys are all about the road trip too, and travel and adventure. You can go back, please. So we got on the road and we traveled around the country, and we read at Barnes and Nobles, and that was fun to show up with customers and read. And we visited all the social workers that we support with our nonprofit. But the number one thing we did on this trip is we visited the children who wrote us letters. And just like our lives moved forward, their lives moved forward, and they're no longer children. And so click to the next slide, please. I don't know if you can guess who these are. These people, these boys are, these young men now. This is Alex and Nick. So I got to tell you, we visited with them, and they're great. They're killing it. They're just having a great life. But one of them still has one leg, and one of them still can't see. But we showed them that we included them in the book, and they got a kick out of that. And they're great guys. Now, the point is, they're a living example that your disposition is powerful. They have the same challenges, but they've always had the right attitude, and they're doing great. You click to the next slide. Last year was a challenge for all of us. Okay, the pandemic hit. What do you say about it? It was the first thing in the history of the world that impacted every single person on this planet, certainly since the world become civilized. And we didn't know what to do about it, but we quickly started using the T-shirt as our communication device, and we talked about staying home, staying calm and staying cool and staying home. We talked about the importance of your quarantine mates, whether that's your pet or your boyfriend or whoever you were hanging out with, that we need a support system. And eventually we got behind the idea that we should get vaccinated. And not everybody along the way believed in all these things, but we spoke our minds about them, and we're speaking our minds about them now. And the T-shirts sold like crazy. And believe it or not, in 2020, our first conversations were about bankruptcy, since 50% of our business was wholesale, and all those accounts were shut down. But we ended up having the best year we've ever had in 2020. And medical workers all over the nation wore our T-shirts as we celebrated them as healthcare heroes. And that was really great. So all of their communities got behind it and bought T-shirts. And as they bought T-shirts, once again, our Kids Foundation got a heck of a lot more money, and all ships rise. So that's it for me. Our story's not over. We're still on the road. We're still traveling. And, I'll just finish with these three real quick thoughts. First of all, optimism is the most powerful tool for living a happy and fulfilling life and for running your business. Secondly, business is the most powerful tool for solving social issues. We need nonprofits and we need the government to get involved too. But business now in this world controls more dollars and more touch points than any other group. We cannot solve our problems, including the environmental ones, without business. And third, art is the great uniter. Art unites and inspires people more than anything. So we can't just run our businesses We need music. We need art. We need theater. That's all for me. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Bert. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, and what a great inspirational talk that you had there. We did have a few questions. If you're able to stick around for a few questions, if you don't mind.
No problem, brother. I hope I
Yeah.
didn't go long. I couldn't see the time, so I hope
No.
we're doing okay.
No worries at all. I think our agents loved every minute of it. I can see some quotes in here. Listening to Bert is my something good for today,
Right.
and it's all good. But there's a question out there in regards to taking your mother's approach, her advice. Somebody asked if you could share something good from your day today that has happened.
Sure thing. So, yeah, I'll share something that's good. So, I've been working full time, but I've been on a surf trip. I like to surf, and I was surfing in Hawaii, and I was surfing on the west coast of the U.S. in California, and I've been traveling with different friends and traveling alone too. My last month has been spent with a great friend, Sebastian Terry, and he's an Australian guy who lives in Venice Beach, and he's a great surfer. I'm not, so he's been teaching me along the way. And at the beginning of this road trip, it was difficult because he went through a hard breakup. He was mad in love with this girl, and she broke it off, and he's been struggling with that along the way. And he sent me a note this morning, and he basically said that all this time outdoors together and traveling and the opportunity to talk through what matters most, he feels like he's healed, and he feels like he's finally ready to go on a date. And that might sound like a really simple thing, but I love my buddy, and I really hurt. It hurt me to see him hurting like that. And so it was an awesome thing that started my day, and I just couldn't be happier. And I know somebody I'm going to fix him up with, so I'm pretty fired up about that.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a great story. Yeah. And another question that we have here is, it seems like Life is Good. The company itself is built on such a strong culture of optimism and positivity. During the hard times, during that challenging time where we had to shift, some of the leadership in the business during this past year, how did Life is Good, and what do you recommend in terms of keeping that positive and optimistic culture alive during the hard times? What did you guys do to kind of keep the spirits up?
Okay, so the number one thing at Life is Good is what we call organizational health. Organizational health is how we treat each other up, down, and sideways. It doesn't mean we have to have all the answers or use all the right words all the time. That puts too much pressure on things. It just means we have to put ourselves in the other people's shoes. We went through a lot of change. We changed our business model. We got into speed to market. We went through a lot of difficult things, long hours, etc. But we had each other's backs. So organizational health, if you want to learn more about it, there's a great book by a guy named Lencioni, and that's his last name. And the book is called The Advantage. And the idea is that the advantage for long-term sustainable growth in business isn't all these things that people think it is. It is organizational health. And organizational health is not the soft stuff. It includes holding each other accountable. It includes being really clear. Clarity is paramount, okay? So we couldn't have built our strategies without that book. When I read the book, it was when we were struggling in that icy patch after the Great Recession, during the Great Recession. And when I read the book and I closed it, I said, guilty as charged to myself. We are guilty. We're not being clear. We don't have the right leadership in place, and we're changing our strategies too rapidly so people can't execute. So read that book, come to your own conclusions, but organizational health is number one.
Yeah, like that old saying goes, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So
that's absolutely right. But organizational health goes beyond culture. He points that out in the book. Culture is a word that weaves it into, has different meaning for people. That's why we like organizational health, but the same meaning is right there. And I like the quote.
Yeah. We have one more question, or a couple more questions. In terms of your business, it seems like you've built your business on doing good and putting positive vibes out into the world and doing good and having good come back to you. How do you ensure that the business that you drive is driven by good as opposed to, making money and profits?
Well, I think you can't be 100% sure of anything, and you do the best you can with everything, right? But I think we have to choose our partners carefully. We have to choose, especially with leadership, our hires really carefully. We've made the mistake in the past. We've made every mistake. And so we've been enamored with people. I've interviewed people, and I've been enamored with their intelligence and the brands where they've been, and the fact that they work for companies much bigger than us. And they didn't score that high on the authentic optimism chart, right? But we hired them anyway. Within 6 months, they weren't fitting in. It just didn't work. We want people from all walks of life, but we have to have what we call rational optimists. Rational optimists recognize the obstacles, but they choose to put their energy into the opportunities, and that allows them to overcome the obstacles. That's a big difference. So how can we assure it? I don't know. We're trying. We do the best we can. I think you just make sure you know who you are and you act like it. And you try to hold other people and partners to the same standards. Just because someone can double your revenues with some partnership doesn't mean they're the right partnership,
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that rational optimism, looking at the challenges for opportunities to overcome. Like, I love that. That is so great. And our idea here at AAA being helping and serving as a way of life, doing good is what we're all about here at AAA as well. One last question. We are a AAA travel, so we are a travel organization. So I like to ask the question, Rachel asks the question, in terms of destinations around the world, if you've been a well-versed traveler, do you have a favorite destination in the world? And if you do, why is that destination your favorite?
Yeah, so I have lots of places I haven't been, but there's two places I love, all right? The South Island of New Zealand, I did a trip there, and I climbed every mountain on the South Island, and I just loved it. You talk about a culture. I hitchhiked from mountain to mountain, and I got picked up by sheep farmers everywhere. I was traveling with a girlfriend at the time, and it was really simple and beautiful. And, in a small area, you have the Abel Tasman Sea, which is beautiful, clear waters and white sand beaches. Inland 5 miles, you have a rainforest. And then it's 14,000-foot peaks, the Southern Alps running right through the middle of that beautiful little country. And so I love that. And I love Floripa. Floripa is a little, they call it Floripa. It's really called Florianopolis. It's a little surf island off the coast of Brazil. And it's beautiful. It's talk about a model for the world. It's Indo-Brazilian blood mixed with Germans and Italians. And so they are the most beautiful looking mutts you've ever seen. And when I got there, I didn't read anything. I didn't know what are these people? And they're beautiful. They bring the heritage of those countries and the recipes, and they got great waves, and I like to surf. And so it's beautiful. And amazingly, I've never spent time in Italy. So it's on my list. I want to spend some time in Italy.
Well, we can definitely get you there, Bert. We can definitely get you there. And Floripa is now on my list. We had a talk earlier today. Don't fear the destination. I have no idea where Floripa is. It is now on my list to look it up and figure out more about it. I am excited. Thank you so much for joining us, Bert. Do you have any final words that you want to leave us with before we bid farewell?
Let me just say that AAA is a great organization, and just like life is good, you should never seek to be perfect. It's a bad goal. Excellence is a great goal. So keep striving to be excellent. Keep asking the right questions from people, and keep on your own journey. I love what you guys are doing, and thank you for sharing this time together. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bert. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I'll be in touch, Bert. Thank you so much for your time.
Right on.